Hello everyone and welcome to the final episode of Fox Flicks On the Kaiju Profiles. This is the final video that was on the list recommended to me. It's King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan of the MonsterVerse. So, let's hop into this video and see what the MonsterVerse versions of these legendary monsters really are. Let's go. Nice.
Hey Kaiju fans, it's the boy who cried Godzilla, here to present a comprehensive look at the MonsterVerse King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan. This profile has been updated from the original upload with information from Godzilla Dominion and Godzilla vs. Kong.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it said that the video was uploaded about 6 months ago. But still, look at this. Amazing. You guys outdid yourself with this. Oh, man, I gotta watch these
In
movies
2014,
again.
Legendary Pictures announced that the sequel to their Godzilla reboot would feature 3 of his most famous co-stars. One would oppose him, one would aid him, and one would see which way the wind was blowing. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, realized Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah using modern computer-generated effects for the first time. However, director Michael Dougherty made sure to remain true to the monsters' roots and keep them recognizable. Initially scattered around the globe, they collided in Boston to determine the fate of the world.
Cool. Oh, come on. No, not an ad now. And we're back. First up, design of...
Legendary licensed King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan from Toho in 2014, well before they hired Dougherty. While the company didn't mandate that he use them, he said learning that he could was like Christmas morning. It was a Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster reunion, except this time, the sides would be even.
Nice.
Legacy FX, Amalgamated Dynamic Incorporated, and Half MT were all involved in designing the Titans, with instructions to make them look mythical with recognizable silhouettes. Per Dougherty in his audio commentary of the movie, the 4 main Titans were each meant to represent a different element.
Water, earth, fire, air.
Oh yeah, you can
The artists used a combination of traditional concept art, clay models, ZBrush, and Maya to arrive at the final designs. Of course, these designs were the subject of furious fan speculation even before the cave paintings in Kong Skull Island, up till Legendary and SH Monster Arts revealed them in full at Tokyo Comic Con 2018. Adding fuel to the fire, a NECA Mothra figure, a Rodan maquette, and possibly a CG Ghidorah model all leaked online before then. Obviously, the Titans weren't present on set, but to help actors react, Dougherty blasted their roars using a device he called Behemoth and Voice of God.
Oh,
LED screens representing the monsters' bioluminescence allowed for more natural lighting, under the supervision of Guillaume Rocheron. 7 companies worked on the 1,535 visual effects shots for Godzilla King of the Monsters. According to Rocheron, MPC handled most of the battle scenes, and created models for the 4 main monsters. The end credits listed the 4 Titans as playing themselves, the first Godzilla movie to include such a joke, but credited the actors who provided the motion capture reference further down.
Yeah. Okay, first up, Mothra.
Dougherty regarded Mothra as the most difficult monster to redesign. He directed his team to give Mothra more physicality than previous incarnations, and they came up with a wasp-like stinger and mantis-like spiked forearms. These weapons would look out of place on most Toho Mothras, but the designers opted to make her body
When you're watching a movie, you're not really able to see all the details, which is why these kinds of videos are actually very useful and appreciated by pretty much everyone that should watch them.
More sleek and streamlined, closer in proportions to a real insect. Early designs proved to look too tank-like. They settled on something closer to a jet fighter. Elements of dragonfly wings, hornets, butterflies, and of course, moths went into her new look. Dougherty also revisited Starship Troopers, presumably for the brain bug. The spots on her wings were patterned after Godzilla's eyes to allude to their symbiotic relationship. Mothra is one of the few explicitly female kaiju, and Dougherty wanted her to look like an old vase. According to Luca Nimolato, the idea was that this civilization in the past had seen her and been inspired by these shapes to create their fertility gods, and she's the mother queen of them. Cast and crew alike regarded Mothra as a more spiritual, even angelic monster, representing Mother Nature's protector, and a perpetual cycle of death and rebirth. That said, she also had to look dangerous, necessitating a delicate balance in her features. Needless to say, it can be difficult for a human audience to glean much emotion from the face of a moth, so the animators developed a highly advanced
you
face
still
rig
can.
for her model. Her mandibles, wings, and legs all helped her emote as well. Mothra's larval form really only appears in a single scene, but her design still required great care, going
Love
through
it.
a zillion different versions in the words of Ortega. The first monster in the film audiences see for an extended period, she needed to go from scaring them to charming them in a matter of seconds. As insect larvae don't have much in the way of faces, the designers had to weld together aspects from several larval and adult insects to give her eyes and a mouth. Even though she was a
that makes
newborn,
sense.
the team wanted her to still feel tough, so they armed her with claws, a big step up from the itty-bitty legs of all past Mothra larvae, as well as armored plates. Though all
Nice.
4 of the movie's main titans have bioluminescence, Mothra's is the most extreme. As a larva, she
Oh, yeah,
emits
it's
orange light when
hyper-powerful.
alarmed, red when enraged, and blue when calmed, a nod to the larva in Godzilla Tokyo SOS changing their eye color when their mother died. Doherty
Oh.
also wanted the imago to
Okay,
leave
that's
trails
clever.
of luminous dust that gave her a comet-like tail as she flew, but in the interest of not having every scene be overpowered by her presence, he opted to have it disperse as she flew and mix in with the surrounding clouds. In an alternate
yeah, that
post-credits
works
scene
bit
that was
of, bit.
storyboarded but never filmed, Monarch
That
brought
works
Mothra's
best,
egg to
I'll
a hidden
say.
chamber in Tokyo where Chen's daughters sang to it. The scene was also considered for inclusion in Godzilla vs. Kong, but again failed to make the cut.
Wonder why they didn't. Alright, on to the volcano.
Mike Doherty
blood
holds
himself.
Rodan in high regard, but even he admitted that the kaiju has always been more of a sidekick. He's a hench
Yeah.
monster. In one version of the story, Rodan defected to Godzilla's side to oppose Ghidorah, but to switch up expectations, he stuck with Monster Zero for as long as he could in the film.
I mean, he
In
got his ass
Rodan's
handed
debut,
to him. He
he and his
became
mate
bitch.
seemingly perished in Mount Aso, and either he or his offspring emerged from that same volcano in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. Doherty wanted him to live in a volcano again, and look the part with the wings covered in cooled magma.
Nice.
The sparks and lava falling from his wings also helped evoke the image of a phoenix. One piece of
It
concept
is the
art by
volcano
Christopher
blood.
Schei even showed him spitting fire, and he seems to have a breath weapon of some kind in the Kong Skull Island cave painting as well. Why was that dropped? Toho seems reluctant to depict regular Rodan spitting any weapon, only ever giving one to the separately trademarked Fire Rodan. The monster's wind breath seen
yeah, I
in
guess
the
that
original
makes
film
some
has
sense.
never returned either. Influences from the animal kingdom included pterosaurs, of course, turkey vultures,
Obviously.
eagles, hawks, and the feet of ostriches. Matt Alsop, returning
well,
from the 2014
okay, that's
film,
kind of
recalled
interesting.
that the artists quickly realized that they had to steer clear of anything that looked too much like the male Muto. Some concepts even gave Rodan feathers, which would have been a first for the character, and a nice callback to the unused feather-winged Rodan designs all the way back from 1956.
Not unless you
Tim
can
Martin
make
of
the wings look
ADI included the
volcanic.
feathers in his maquette, dubbed the final maquette in the art book, though they were ultimately removed. Rodan's awakening and battle
yeah,
with
still kinda
Monarch was one
walks.
of the first sequences to go through previs. Outpost 56 restrained him with giant harpoon guns in this version, only for Monarch's own jets to blow them up so they could lure him towards Ghidorah. The animators
Oh, boy.
based his fighting style on eagles, with the third floor supervisor Andrew Honecker describing him as a drunken brawler as well. His new roars were derived from recordings of owls, penguins, vultures, and some cranes Doherty's mother filmed in her backyard.
Penguins?
Doherty
Wait,
didn't
wait,
originally
what?
plan to use any
Penguins?
motion capture for Rodan, but he decided to let Jason Liles have a try at the end of a day of filming. Sadly, we haven't found any images of that session, and the credits don't mention it either.
Oh, ad. We're back. On to the big KG
Though
himself.
clearly recognizable as Godzilla's arch rival, Legendary's King Ghidorah deviated from past designs in 2 key ways: a more muscular chest to support his 3 necks,
Nice.
and a willingness to walk on his wings like a bat. Early concepts
just
explored
walks.
emphasizing the creature's extraterrestrial origins, but a more traditional
Ooh.
design won out. According to sculptor
Yeah, that's
Simon
fine.
Lee, I didn't want the creature to have the wings spread all the time, as that can actually create a problem with the camera framing, because of how big he is.
I mean, it just
Lee made
makes
nearly
sense.
60 concept sculptures of Ghidorah, including the final maquette, with Timothy Martin making some final tweaks during production. The artists were inspired by Asian dragons, reptiles, dinosaurs, bats, giraffes, horses, and various
what?
marine life. Once Ghidorah's
Horses
design
and
progressed
giraffes?
to 3D modeling, his
What
wings
the
took on the
what?
texture of a bat, while his skin drew from corn snakes, iguanas, and chameleons. In
Huh.
addition, Half-MT co-owner Miguel Ortega noted that rust and potatoes were useful for all the monsters, since there's something about them that your brain knows is created by nature as opposed to by hand.
Huh.
At one point in his life, Doherty owned 3 dogs,
guess.
each with their own temperament. Ghidorah's heads followed suit, with a commanding center head, aggressive right head, and curious left head. Doherty nicknamed them Ichi, Ni, and San, though fans embraced a different sobriquet for the left head, Kevin, as the director jokingly tweeted. A different actor played each of Ghidorah's heads for motion capture reference. Jason Lyles in the center, Richard Dorton on the left, and Alan Maxon on the right. Rocheron explained that this helped the animators better understand how 3 different brains perform the same action at the same time. For battles against Godzilla, they worked with T.J. Storm, reprising his role from the 2014 film. Lyles had experience in the genre as well, having played George in Rampage. In an interview with Jadine Mercado of Nerd Alert News, he recounted the day that one of Doherty's dogs visited the set. Much as Ghidorah whipped titans around the world into a frenzy, the actor's performances were compelling enough to drive him berserk, barking like crazy as the staff tried to calm him. With 3 heads, a pair of wings, and 2 tails, rigging and animating Ghidorah was no easy task, even in the previs stage. The filmmakers based his fighting style on bears and Komodo dragons, giving him overlap with Godzilla. One of the most devastating moves was inspired by golden eagles, who kill goats by picking them up and dropping them off mountains.
Damn.
There was one physical Ghidorah prop on the set, which was ultimately cut from the movie, a tooth that Madison backed into while trying to evade him in Fenway Park. Snake hisses went into his new roars, and if you listen closely, you can hear his Showa-era flying sound just before he touches down in Boston. And later, one of his Heisei-era grunts. In Godzilla vs. Kong, a life-size polystyrene Ghidorah skull measuring 60 feet in length and weighing about 6 tons formed the centerpiece of Apex's psionic control room. The result of 3 to 4 months of design work ahead of months spent building the thousands of hand-glued pieces, the skull was assembled around a steel frame in a large soundstage. Its exterior was rendered in plaster and painted an off-white color to give it the feel of old bone. That might not have been easy to catch thanks to the vibrant, pulsing neon lighting gleaming from the circuitry which ran down the skull.
No shit.
A far cry from the fake report of Ghidorah chained up in a cave, but still a shocking resurgence for the King of Terror.
Oh, come on. And we're back. Moving on to the origins of the monsters.
To fit in with the mythology of Legendary's MonsterVerse, all 3 monsters became members of a group of ancient apex predators dubbed Titans by Monarch, the organization devoted to studying them. As the post-credit scene in Kong Skull Island reveals, Monarch has been aware of the trio's existence since at least 1973. The MonsterVerse Rodan hails from the fictional Mexican island of Isla de Mara. In 1991, Monarch discovered him in pyrostasis within the molten magma of the island's volcano, El Nido del Demonio, meaning the demon's nest, and constructed Outpost 56 around him in order to contain the winged titan. According to Doherty, Rodan's parents nested in this volcano, which is why he took up residence there himself. Ancient records of Rodan, which spoke of him as the fire demon, recounted how he leveled cities just by flying over them. A lineage of lepidopterine titans benevolent to humanity, Mothra defended the natural world in the ancient past and was revered as a goddess by ancient civilizations. She possessed a symbiotic relationship with Godzilla, aiding him in battle against a number of foes in the past. In 2009, Monarch found Mothra within her egg inside the ancient Temple of the Moth in China's Yunnan rainforest, designed to house each generation of the Titan before she hatched. This became the site of Outpost 61. However, according to the film's novelization, she originally hails from Indonesia, where she was worshipped by the natives and referred to as Mosura. Mothra appears in mythology and fairy tales from all over the world, which regard her as a truly benevolent being. She hatched in 2019, and after escaping containment, cocooned herself under a nearby waterfall and emerged in her imago stage to help Monarch locate Godzilla. Given the designation Monster Zero, King Ghidorah was one of Monarch's most recent findings, discovered frozen in the Antarctic permafrost by a team headed by Dr. Vivienne Graham prior to 2014. Surrounded by a massive wall of ice, dubbed the Wall of Serpents, the 3-headed Titan was the largest specimen they had uncovered, his name and origins shrouded in mystery. Only after Ghidorah was unleashed upon the world once more did they learn the truth. Ghidorah was an ancient creature, feared by many bygone cultures. Said to have been a dragon who fell from the stars. He was an alien in...
Hey, hold on. Could we get an origin of the, at least, codename? Why is he called Monster Zero? I mean, it would make sense if they knew he was extraterrestrial, or if he was the first of the Monarch monsters, but he's not. Maybe someone thought it sounded cool, and they were like, we'll go with it.
Bent on wiping out all life on Earth so he could terraform the planet to his liking. Monarch files detail that King Ghidorah's body sported injuries reminiscent of claw and scorch marks all across it. According to cave paintings,
Obvious.
Godzilla and Mothra joined forces to seal him beneath Antarctica several millennia ago.
And now the history.
5 years after the existence of Titans became known to the world at large, Mothra began to hatch in her abode, the Temple of the Moth. Witnesses to her birth included Monarch's chief paleobiologist, Dr. Emma Russell, and her daughter Madison. Monarch's containment attempts panicked the newborn larval Mothra, who tossed guards aside and restrained them with her silk. Before Monarch could terminate her, Emma tried calming Mothra using her sonar device, the Orca. Her first attempt angered Mothra further, but her second try successfully pacified the Titan, allowing Madison to get close. Their peaceful communion was broken when an explosion rocked the outpost. Armed men stormed the control room and gunned down the Monarch personnel before abducting Emma and Madison along with the Orca. In their underwater headquarters of Castle Bravo, Monarch determined that the abductor was Alan Jonah, an eco-terrorist bent on restoring natural order and trafficking Titan DNA. Mothra had cocooned in a waterfall near the outpost, but Emma's estranged husband Mark told the others that Jonah was likely after a much bigger prize. After Godzilla paid them a visit and suddenly swam away, Monarch discovered that he was making his way to Antarctica, the site of Outpost 32, and the three-headed titan known as Monster Zero. Monarch rushed there in their flying fortress, the USS Argo, and landed nearby in an Osprey. By then, the base had already been seized by Jonah, his forces having set up a trap for Monarch's G-Team. Mark ran in after them to save his family, but was shocked when Emma and Madison refused to escape with him. Emma grabbed a detonator and set off the terrorists' explosives. As the ice split open and the entire outpost sank into the fissure, G-Team fled, while Emma used the Orca to awaken Monster Zero. The freshly emerged three-headed titan regarded the humans with some curiosity before swiftly eliminating the majority with his gravity beams. The blast damaged the Osprey, prompting Madison to grab the Orca to distract Monster Zero before he could smash it. Soon he found himself facing a real titan, as Godzilla burst through the ice shelf to confront his ancient rival. The two traded blows, with Monster Zero managing to dodge a blast of atomic breath before toppling Godzilla with his gravity beams. The Argo arrived to rescue the survivors and began bombarding Monster Zero with missiles, to which the creature responded by flying away and disappearing within a tropical storm over South America.
I can't fly!
Emma contacted the Argo and explained her plan to awaken all of the dormant titans around the world so they could prevent the inevitable mass extinction humanity's excesses would lead to. Monarch determined Emma and Jonah had set their sights on Outpost 56 in Isla de Mar, Mexico. G-Team helped evacuate the town as Jonah's men disabled the containment field around the volcano, and Emma used the Orca to rouse the Titan within, Rodan. Monarch also became aware that the tropical storm Monster Zero disappeared into was actually being generated by the creature, who was on his way thanks to Rodan's cries. The Argo and a squadron of fighter jets lured Rodan towards the larger monster. The fire demon effortlessly wiped out the fighters, but before he could grab the Argo, he found himself in the path of Monster Zero. The Titans clashed in the air, but the three-headed terror swiftly prevailed. He targeted the Argo next, but Godzilla intervened just in time. The King of the Monsters had the advantage underwater, managing to tear off his enemy's left head. However, the US military wasn't content to let them fight, detonating a new weapon called the Oxygen Destroyer in an attempt to eliminate both Titans. Unfortunately, the chemical weapon had no effect on Monster Zero and drove Godzilla to the brink of death. The now two-headed beast perched atop the Isla de Mar volcano and regenerated his missing head, then emitted a shriek which echoed across the world, awakening all of the other Titans from their hibernation. Through further research into ancient records, Monarch learned that Monster Zero was not a part of the planet's natural order. These legends referred to him by the name Ghidorah, the one who is many. Emma reached the same conclusion and was horrified at Jonah's willingness to let Ghidorah run rampant. With Godzilla eliminated, Ghidorah could command the other Titans to destroy the world on his behalf, with one exception. Mothra emerged from her cocoon under the waterfall in China and flew to Castle Bravo, where she put on a dazzling display. By analyzing her bioacoustics, Monarch learned she was communicating with Godzilla, who was still alive. Inside the USS Scorpion, Mark and scientists Ichiro Serizawa, Eileen Chen, and Rick Stanton followed Mothra to Godzilla's lair among the sunken ruins of an ancient city within the Hollow Earth. Serizawa gave his life to detonate a thermonuclear warhead next to Godzilla, the radiation providing him with the energy needed to fully recover from the Oxygen Destroyer and challenge Ghidorah once again. Mothra
It's
flew
only
back to
maybe
China
like a
to
bit.
lay her egg off screen. While Ghidorah and Rodan clashed with the military in Washington, D.C., Madison stole the Orca and brought it to Fenway Park in Boston, broadcasting a signal through the sound system in order to halt the rampaging titans around the globe. Determined to eliminate this artificial rival, Ghidorah destroyed the loudspeakers and cornered Madison. A blast of atomic breath cut him off.
Whew, that was
Godzilla had
close.
arrived. The ancient enemies battled again in the heart of Boston. Mothra soon joined the battle, briefly tag-teaming the three-headed dragon
Get
with the big
pinned.
G, but Rodan intercepted her afterwards. Ghidorah began to gain the upper hand against Godzilla after feeding on a power substation. Rodan
Ow,
managed to injure Mothra,
shitballs.
but was unprepared for her stinger attack, which took him out of the fight. Ghidorah lifted Godzilla above the clouds and dropped him back down to the ground. Before he could finish him off,
Oh,
the Queen of the
boy.
Monsters crawled on top of her counterpart and charged Ghidorah, who promptly
Only to
disintegrated
be-
her with a point-blank blast from his gravity beams. Mothra's ashes rained down on Godzilla, infusing him with energy, but Ghidorah began to drain it. By then,
Oh,
Emma
boy.
had defected from Jonah and worked with Mark and the G-Team to rescue Madison. She recalibrated the Orca and began to drive away with it in order to lure Ghidorah away from Godzilla and an escaping Monarch Osprey with Mark and
Why would you
Madison
think
aboard.
this walks?
Ghidorah pursued her and blew up the vehicle with his gravity beams. As Emma lay dying on the street, she uttered,
Oh, come on. We're back.
The king.
up at the looming Ghidorah. He turned to see burning Godzilla approaching him.
Nice.
An incendiary nuclear pulse in the shape of Mothra's wings melted away at the three-headed titan's wings. He retaliated with his gravity beams,
you
which
think
failed to
Ghidorah
phase
actually heard
Godzilla
what
at
she
all.
said?
The latter sent forth a pulse which incinerated his enemy's left and right heads, after which Godzilla stomped on his chest before his atomic energy reached critical mass and exploded. When
Damn.
the smoke cleared, Godzilla rose from the rubble, holding Ghidorah's remaining head in his jaws, then proceeded to burn it away with his atomic breath. Victorious, he turned to see 4 of the other titans Ghidorah had awakened approaching him.
What up?
Behemoth,
Y'all wanna
Scylla,
fight next?
Methuselah, and the Queen Muto. Rodan, still alive,
Who wants
landed
to
in
fight?
front of Godzilla and roared. Godzilla returned a glare which caused Rodan and the other titans to bow
Damn
before
right
the
you bow.
definitive king of monsters.
Sweet.
In the following months, Rodan began nesting in Fiji, while Monarch
Oh.
uncovered Mothra's egg in China.
Okay,
Meanwhile,
that's good.
fishermen from Isla de Mater recovered Ghidorah's severed head and sold
And
it to
that's
Jonah
not
and
good.
his men.
We'll take it.
Ah,
Mothra's
shit.
spirit appears above Godzilla as he realizes that her sacrifice bestowed onto him heightened senses, granting him a far more
Ooh.
intricate perception of the planet. Rodan doesn't appear in the story proper, but you can see him in a collage of titans at the beginning of the book.
Huh,
Artist
nice.
Drew Edward Johnson later posted the full piece online.
I like it.
At
Oh,
some
and moving
point
right
during
on
the
to
5
next
years
movie.
following Ghidorah's
Okay,
defeat,
chop, chop.
Apex Cybernetics obtained the Ghidorah head from Jonah and converted it into an organic supercomputer by using the neural pathways scattered throughout it. Apex intended to use Ghidorah's skull as a neural interface hub for its artificial titan, Mechagodzilla, built to destroy all monsters
was
and
working
reassert
pretty well.
humanity's dominance. Set up inside the psionic control room adjacent to the company's testing arena under Hong Kong, Ren Serizawa piloted the mecha from within the Ghidorah skull. Team Godzilla, Monarch agent-in-waiting Madison Russell, her friend Josh Valentine,
He
and
was
conspiracy
dragged along for all
podcaster
this
Bernie
shit.
Hayes stumbled into that arena and watched it cleave a gigantic
Hold on, can we actually be honest that her friend didn't want anything to do with the monsters or the titans or any of that? He was like, I'm just gonna leave. And she was like, no, you're not. You're coming with me. And so he was dragged the hell along. He just wanted to leave.
skullcrawler in half with its proton screen. After the test run, Team Godzilla snuck their way into the psionic control room and were shocked to find themselves face to skull with Monster Zero. Hayes hypothesized that there was a second one inside Mechagodzilla. When Apex finally obtained the
maybe.
energy signature from the Hollow Earth needed to fully power
I'm
Mecha
actually
G,
curious
it
about
fed
whether
the
they would've
reconstructed
even gone that
energy into the
second
mecha.
one.
However, doing so caused Ghidorah's consciousness to merge with Mechagodzilla's AI, after which it killed Serizawa as well as Apex CEO Walter Simmons. Mechagodzilla freed itself from Victoria Peak and began attacking
No,
Hong
seriously,
Kong
there was a
prior
second
to
still
engaging
in it.
Godzilla in
Well,
battle.
did I get it?
The robot easily dominated the fight before Kong stepped in. The two titans tag-teamed Mechagodzilla, with a brief but crucial assist from Team Godzilla. Eventually, Godzilla used his atomic breath to power up Kong's axe, which he used to slice
One
Mechagodzilla
arm
apart
down?
before tearing off its head,
And,
ending Ghidorah's
oh yeah,
brief
spine and
resurgence.
all.
In the GVK novelization by Greg Keyes, Alan Jonah and his group acquired a second Ghidorah head. Where'd that second one come from? Well, it's never explained.
Oh, yeah,
Simmons has
freaking
Apex
cool.
by
No,
both,
just
planting one
off-screen
inside
shenanigans.
Mechagodzilla, confirming Bernie's conjecture in the movie. Also, while in the movie it's sort of ambiguous if Ren died, it's made explicitly clear in the novel. Mothra and Rodan also appear in the movie, though in very minor capacities. The opening credits show a cave painting of her and stock footage of him. Later, we learn that Hayes dedicated an episode of Titan Truth podcast to his Mothra pregnancy theory. I wonder if it was the same one Doherty unleashed during the MonsterVerse watch-along.
Oh, come on, not again. Now let's continue on. The abilities of the monsters.
All three Titans are capable of flight, despite their
Obviously.
tremendous size. Mothra and Rodan's exact flight speeds are unknown, though Rodan's is specified to be supersonic. When flying, he generated sonic booms that leveled Isla de Mara. King Ghidorah, who could break the sound barrier in all prior live-action films, was only capable of flying at a speed of about Mach 0.8.
Oh,
Rodan is
almost
deadliest in
Mach 1.
the air. He easily dismantled the fleet of F-35 fighter
good
jets,
enough,
engaging
but
him
still
by
pretty
smacking them
damn
with his
good.
wings, tearing them apart with his talons and beak, and by performing a mid-air barrel roll maneuver. During the battle in Boston, he
I think
utilized
that's
his
an
aerial
aileron
prowess to
roll.
repeatedly
Come on, guys.
ram Mothra while clawing at her with his talons. The legendary Mothra is equipped with mantis-like clawed forelimbs which she uses to defend herself in close combat, a departure from the puny legs of previous iterations. A strike from these claws forced Rodan off of her. Her deadliest
Nice.
weapon is her stinger, which she drove straight through Rodan's chest. Though he survived, he was incapacitated on the
Wait,
ground,
does that mean she
flailing
has
and
venom?
only recovering after
Or some
Godzilla
kind of
killed
poison?
Ghidorah. Ghidorah preferred to make use of his multiple heads in melee combat. His necks and tails were fully prehensile, and he effortlessly lifted the Big G's over 90,000-ton body, thousands of meters into the air.
Damn.
This incarnation's wings, clearly modified from arm-like forelimbs, were more versatile than those of past versions. He can even wing-walk with them. Like all Titans,
He's a true
Rodan,
wyvern
Mothra, and King
now.
Ghidorah are highly durable, rendering them immune to conventional weaponry and resistant
yeah,
to
he's not
savage
a
blows
dragon,
from
he's a
other
wyvern.
Titans. Ghidorah's most impressive feat was enduring 2 blasts of Godzilla's atomic breath in Boston, and of course, being unaffected by the oxygen destroyer, which killed most everything in the sea save for the Big G, who was drastically weakened by it.
I mean, yeah,
Resulting
he
from
kinda
his
doesn't need
prolonged time
oxygen,
submerged in
so-
molten magma, Rodan has formed an armored layer of volcanic rock over his wings. A point-blank gravity beam shot launched him into the sea, but he was back up and bowing to the new Alpha not very long afterwards. Mothra's durability is less proven, but her victory over the larger Rodan is still notable. Rodan is
Not
equipped
big,
with a
but
biological
good.
magma system, meaning that his very blood is like molten lava, dripping from the ends of his wings. It burned
That's
Mothra's wings
cool.
during their battle, hindering her ability to fly.
I mean, that
In
is
addition,
actually
the
awesome.
movie's novelization
Oh, you
states
could
that
call it
Rodan
hot.
can cause volcanoes to erupt
I
simply
had
by
to pun.
flying over them. Mothra's primary form of defense is her silk attack. Unlike previous incarnations, she can use this
Use string
technique
shot.
even in her imago stage. This completely immobilized 2 of Ghidorah's heads, allowing Godzilla to tackle them. Mothra is bioluminescent and emits a variety of colorful
is
lights from her
very,
body depending on
very
her mood
bright.
or the situation. As a larva, Mothra emits a soft blue glow when she is calm, and a red light when she is agitated. In her imago stage, Mothra can emit volumetric beta ray bioluminescent patterns from her wings called God
God
rays,
rays.
which dispel
Hell,
surrounding
that is
clouds and produce blinding
nice.
white light. She used them as a beacon to lead Monarch to Godzilla's lair so they could revitalize him. Mothra possesses a symbiotic relationship with Godzilla dating back to the ancient past. The Queen and King of the Monsters communicate with each other using sonar patterns over great distances. The final stage of their symbiosis occurs when Mothra is killed and her energy flows into Godzilla's body.
Yep.
This causes him to temporarily enter a superpowered state called Burning Godzilla, in which
Love
he
it.
emits a tremendous amount of heat and can utilize extremely powerful nuclear pulses.
Love
These
it.
pulses possess the pattern of Mothra's wings and the sound of her roar. Moreover, she has a psychic
Love it.
connection with the twin sisters born into each generation of the Chen family. This bond is an ancient one.
Whoa.
Note the statues flanking her egg in the Temple of the Moth.
Oh,
the
well, yeah,
novelization
those are hard to
suggests
see,
that this
though.
link extends to Madison Russell, who has a vision of Mothra while lying unconscious in the ruins of her old house in Boston. Mothra is capable of reproducing asexually, allowing her to survive as a lineage in perpetuity. When a new individual is born, she isn't simply a new offspring, but a reincarnation
memories
with
don't
all of
even
her
pass
memories
down.
passed on genetically.
Everything.
Ghidorah's signature weapon are his golden bioelectrical gravity beams. These beams vaporize human beings instantaneously and
You
deliver
don't understand
incredible
the
damage to other
gravity of
titans.
this situation.
Godzilla was knocked off his feet by them, while Rodan was dispatched by a direct blast from just one. A point-blank blast from all three heads completely disintegrated Mothra. King Ghidorah has an affinity for electricity, granted by the highly conductive properties of his scales, which contain trace amounts of gold. He can generate powerful storms around himself, which project lightning that disintegrates organic life. He grew more powerful after absorbing electricity from a power station in Boston, discharging lightning bolts from his wings that obliterated surrounding aircrafts and even disoriented Godzilla. King Ghidorah could siphon energy through his bite. After the wounded Godzilla absorbed the energy from Mothra's ashes, Ghidorah bit down on him and started absorbing it, visible as a red glow traveling through his necks. Kaiser Ghidorah much? Thanks to his bizarre alien biology, King Ghidorah possesses extremely potent regeneration. After having his left head torn off by Godzilla, Ghidorah completely regrew it in a matter of moments. Because the majority of his neurons are distributed throughout his body like an octopus's, the new head possesses the same memories and personality as the old one. When Godzilla ripped off Ghidorah's left head, his blood appeared black in coloration. The novelization implies that it is similar to oil in terms of consistency. Ghidorah's healing factor was demonstrated again in Boston, when holes in his wings visibly healed after he launched lightning from them. Apex combined King Ghidorah's biotelepathic cell membranes with circuitry so it could use one of his skulls as a control hub, enabling direct interface with Mechagodzilla through a psionic uplink. MG's AI then follows the pilot's will. Bernie Hayes hypothesized that Ghidorah's heads must have communicated with each other telepathically due to the length of their necks, and this is restated in the GVK art book as a reasoning for the use of Ghidorah's skull in the story. Though in the movie, Hayes asserts in passing that another skull is inside Mecha G, and we never find out if he's right, the novelization makes it explicit right from the beginning that this is the case. The use of reconstructed Hollow Earth energy to power MG made it so a new hybrid consciousness was created when the remnants of Ghidorah's merged with the robot's artificial intelligence.
And that's how you get screwed. On to the trivia.
Godzilla King of the Monsters is not the first Warner Brothers film where Godzilla battled King Ghidorah. That distinction goes to 1985's Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which went a prophetic step further by staging their battle on the Warner Brothers studio lot. The Yokohama set in GMK also features a WB sign, and Mothra's name appears briefly in Godzilla 2014 as a pair of stickers on an insect terrarium in the Brody family's long-abandoned Janjira apartment. The shooting script for Kong Skull Island called for Iwi artwork of a three-headed monster living beneath Skull Island. The novelization kept this detail, but steered clear of describing any Toho monsters during the post-credits scene.
It's fine. 3 heads.
The Chen twins are, of course, a reference to Mothra's tiny priestesses in the Toho movies, typically called the Shobijin. Their hairstyles also recall Miki Sayagusa and the Cosmos in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, though that may be a coincidence.
I can kind of
The numbers for the Monarch outposts built around Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Rodan all have special significance. Outpost 32 in Antarctica refers to the 1982 film The Thing, which takes place at Outpost 31. It's also half of 64, with 64 being the year King Ghidorah made his debut. Outpost 56 in Mexico and Outpost 61 in China recall the years Rodan and Mothra made their own debuts. By the way, although we never go inside Outpost 56 in the movie, there is some concept art of it showing murals and a Monarch facility. 3 years out, the King of the Monsters Toho trio have yet to receive roles of any magnitude outside of that movie. Sure, they're there in the MonsterVerse slot machine and had licensed cosmetics in both PUBG Mobile and Roblox, but that's it. In fact, Mothra and Rodan have all but vanished without a trace, merely receiving
hold on.
mention.
Looks like the rest of this is, well, we're almost at an end, so let's see if we can make it.
In the GVK novelization and making cameos in Godzilla Dominion. Poor Rodan had his pinup marginalized in the final comic along with Methuselah. Most recently, Ghidorah's skull was used as a background element in Go Big. Anyone still holding out hope for a console fighting game? Anyways, that's all she wrote for Godzilla's co-stars in King of the Monsters. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. See ya!
Alright folks, and with that is where we're going to end off today's episode and the Kaiju profile list. So, I want you all to remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video, so remember to support the original creator and all they do. And I'll see all you folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.